Bing, boing, bing. Everybody has a story to tell with Toddie One Skip. Hey guys, how you doing? This is everybody. Everybody has a story to tell with Toddie One Skip because it's true. Everybody does have a story to tell, but very few people take the time to listen until now because now we're listening. Guys, this channel, as you know, is a second channel of mine. The other channel is Issues with Toddie One Skip. You could check that channel out. This channel goes into a little bit more in depth and follows hopefully the human spirit, the whether good, bad, or indifferent. In this video, not so good, because I want to close out the Gypsy Rose, Dee Blanchard, Nick Godejohn saga of digging into who these people are. So I did a Dee, I did a Nick, and now we're going to hit the evil monster herself, the one and only Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who was born July 27th, 1991, by all accounts, and all these other years as well, because as anybody knows Gypsy, they know that her date of birth was changed several times. The year was changed several times, and that was to get benefits that she wouldn't get otherwise. And when I say benefits, I mean more than just medical. I mean like being able to go to Disney World, getting on Make-A-Wish trips, things that are geared towards children. Gypsy and her mom were changing Gypsy's birth date, the year, to continue to grift. Because one thing is for sure, I don't believe in the Munchausen by proxy. We'll get into that. But the grifting, definitely. So Gypsy was actually born, like I said, July 27th, 1991. And she was born to 24-year-old Dee Blanchard, whose name was Claudinia, and 18-year-old Rod. So Rod was 18-year-old at the time. And Gypsy was born in Louisiana, and she lived a life with her mom as a mom and a daughter. So it was a duo. It was just the two of them. And she was born in Golden Meadow, Louisiana. And Rod, on his 18th birthday, decided he didn't want to be married anymore, but he says that he wanted to take care of the baby. Well, he wanted to, but we have proof that Rod didn't. Rod didn't. He was somebody that showed up, it seems, when Dee made the effort. And I mean, Dee was basically a single parent raising her daughter, and that's just the way it was. That's the way it was. So who was Gypsy? When Gypsy was born, she had an incredible lazy eye. Just looking at her, her head was a bit smaller. She had something wrong with her at birth that wasn't perfect. As time went on, as Gypsy grew, a lot of the symptoms seemed to progress. So Gypsy's eye got worse. She had to have several surgeries on her eye. If you look at it today, you can still see she has an extremely lazy eye. But back then, she could have gone blind without that surgery. She also had issues with swallowing, with eating, with failure to thrive, with her muscles. And they couldn't really figure out what was wrong with Gypsy. But what made it worse was Gypsy was compounding her symptoms by telling her mom that she had more symptoms than what she had, and when her symptoms went away, she didn't tell her mom that the symptoms would go away. So not only was her mom legitimately trying to help her sick daughter, she was being told untruths by her sick daughter. Gypsy's health was never going to be something that Dee would know 100%, because it was Gypsy that was steering that boat. She was steering that boat. And Gypsy, who was the apple of her mom's eye, I mean, Gypsy would even tell you all she had to do was exist. One of the huge mistakes that her mom made was making Gypsy her whole world. Dee having very few funds, and a deadbeat dad. Sorry, Rod. He was inconsistent. He was supposedly told that his daughter Gypsy was only going to live to be 18 or so, and he didn't do anything to get to know his daughter, spend more time with his daughter. I guess he figured he'd catch up with her in another lifetime. In the meantime, Gypsy didn't have that relationship with her dad, and she wanted that. She definitely wanted that relationship with her dad. And she has said that she was jealous and envious of Mia's relationship, the relationship that Mia had. And there's no doubt that Gypsy probably blames her mom for the fact that her dad didn't show up. Because it's easier to blame her mom than to really realize your dad just didn't show up. Your mom showed up for you 1,000%. Your dad, he was busy raising another family. That's the truth. Whether you like it or not, Gypsy, it's in front of your face. And if that's something that bothers you, you need to deal with that with your dad. Because he was the one that failed you. Christy, she doesn't owe you anything. She's your stepmom. She owes you nothing. The fact that she says she loves you as if you were her own daughter, well, I think you clearly feel that that's not true. Because divorce, no divorce, whatever, if her own daughter was incarcerated in 3 weeks, she would have definitely taken those phone calls. She would have taken the first phone call, not ignored Rod's kid. But that's what your stepmom did, and you know that. You know that, Gypsy. The only person that you honestly could count on, there were two. There were two people. Your mom was one of them, and you, well, had her unalived, at the very least, if you didn't do it yourself. In the most horrific way, it didn't have to be done like that. And two, Nicholas. Nicholas, who went, and now he's given up his life for you. And you call him names. You call him names. So, Gypsy, we want to know, where did this demonic, evil, diabolical bullshit come from? And you know, when we look into this deep dive, your mom spoiled you. Spoiled you rotten to the core. And when life would come by and kick you in the head a few times and you wouldn't be so charming, they said, you were charming with your voice and the no hair. And that's how people felt sorry for you. They didn't see when you offered to put somebody's eyes in the back of their head, or when you were abusing, allegedly, your mom. Your mom. See, your mom was basically living in shit, and you were the only one capable, with legs, to get out and do things for her. But you didn't. You didn't, because that's not the way you roll. Gypsy's poor behavior and Gypsy's way about her was something that her mom unfortunately did create. But her mom was dealing with a legitimate sick child. Somebody with a microdeletion that didn't even know there was a microdeletion until years later. And then come to find out which microdeletion it was, which came years after that. So when they were legitimately checking her for things and she was going through tests, they were needed. They were needed. Because ultimately that's how they found out about the microdeletion, which is a big deal, especially when you're younger, before you outgrow a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So Gypsy lied to her mom and told her mom she didn't have feelings in her leg. And when she did have feelings in her leg, she manipulated situations to get what she wanted. That never stopped for Gypsy. That continues to this day. That getting what she wants, feeling that the world owes her a favor. And I'm pretty sure because her mom probably overcompensated, because she probably didn't want Gypsy to feel like she was unwanted or unloved by Rod. So she worked extra hard to provide something for Gypsy to feel secure and safe. In the meantime, she created Frankenstein. And that's Gypsy's story. Gypsy has 3 other siblings. There was a child born to Rod and another woman at the same time that Gypsy, like just after Gypsy was born. So this girl and Gypsy aren't even a year apart. I don't want to mention her name. You guys should know her name. She doesn't seem to want anything to do with social media, or I don't know if she has a relationship with Rod or not. Doesn't matter. That's not who we're talking about. But this is another person Gypsy would know about. And then she has Dylan. And there's pictures of Dylan. There's pictures of Dylan and Gypsy. And then she has Mia, and there's pictures of Mia, Dylan, and Gypsy, where Gypsy's actually holding her little sister. Okay? And you see Gypsy with the big eyeglasses. And, you know, Gypsy had to go for surgery because of the salivary glands. Gypsy was choking on her own saliva. Another one of the symptoms from the microdeletion. Okay? Gypsy licks her lips now, not to make her lips wet, but to catch the saliva. So imagine if that wasn't done, because that's a surgery, okay? And imagine if the eye surgery wasn't done. And, well, we know how much she weighed and how she looked so fucking small that people actually thought she was small. So that's the reason for the feeding tube. Where are the other surgeries? The leg procedure, the one where she said that the doctor said during the procedure she had a fit or a seizure and she lost feeling in her leg. Is it that one? Because that was a legitimate surgery too, or legitimate test, because they were trying to figure out what was wrong with her. There was no Munchausen by proxy. As a matter of fact, Munchausen by proxy never even came up until they needed an alibi for Gypsy. It was a political move. They couldn't actually, the DA never thought that it would look good, that the optics would look good with somebody who looked as young as Gypsy, even though she wasn't that young. She was 24, 23, 24 when she got busted. She was right there on the verge of it, of her 24th birthday, when she got nailed for unaliving her mom. She claims she was 19. She lied right away about the age. She never brought up any ABUSC by her mom. Never. Her mom was her best friend. She loved her mom. Her mom, if anything, was overprotective. Okay? So all of this horrible or horrific relationship she had at the hands of her mom was make-believe. There's not even a picture of Gypsy crying. So we see pictures of Gypsy at Disney World. We see pictures of Gypsy just eating royal mashed potatoes. We hear Gypsy bragging about every place she went to and everything. She did not have a horrible life. She had a house. She had her own bedroom. They had a car. She had wheelchairs for every friggin' room, which she had to have for every friggin' room, because truth is, the way that house was kept, yeah, she couldn't have a wheelchair that would fit between the hallway with all the hoarding going on there. Gypsy had a playhouse in the back that was a shed. Gypsy has a very, 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 very overactive sexual prowess about her. Very much so. Very much so. I mean, the girl gets it on with toothbrushes. I'm not trying to be rude. The FOIAs have come out. Toothbrush, something she's very accustomed to, and does not use it on her teeth. But then again, she didn't have any. I'm not saying that to make fun of. She's even said she didn't have any. But she's also said that she sucked a bottle. Now, do you think that Dee Dee said, "Suck that bottle. You suck that bottle"? Do you think, how old do you think it was before Gypsy started telling Dee Dee what to do? When do you think that happened? Do you think that maybe the unaliving occurred because Gypsy didn't get her way? I mean, she got into an argument with her mom, picked up a BBGUN and went at it. And then in one breath said she didn't realize it was a BBGUN, but thought it was a real one. And then in the next sentence or next breath or next book or next movie, oh, she knew definitely that it was a BBGUN. So, you know, Gypsy, when lies. That's Gypsy. That's what she does. So what do we know about her? Well, she's a pathological liar that unalived her mom, probably blamed her mom for the fact her dad wasn't there because she just doesn't want to deal with the fact that she had a deadbeat dad. And he rejected her, period. Not because of Dee Dee, but because of him. Not even because of Gypsy, because he did it. He did it. He was the dad. He rejected you each time he didn't show up, when he didn't call, when he gave up, when he stopped paying for things, when he was told supposedly that you were only going to live to be about 18 years old. And he said, you know what, I'll catch you on her 19th birthday. You know, that was that. So you had all this horrible shit to live with. And it's hurtful. It's painful to see your dad raise another family and not really speak to you. I mean, that's it. And so your mom tries to overcompensate, but you still have all this anger and all this confusion and all this why, and you're sick, which also causes a little bit of, unfortunate mental health. And you're not going to school, but you did go to school. I'd like to think your mom probably saved the world from you not going to school. Because, I don't know when it was that you wanted to push the person's eyes up into their head. But I think that your mom really said, no, let me protect everybody. And, So when we think of this enigma of Gypsy Rose, and we know that, she was imprisoned for at the very least, being the Charles Manson to unaliving her mom, in other words, setting it all up, making sure that she purchased everything. She purchased the round trip ticket for Nick to come and do it. She wrote letters to Nick's mom, how she was going to take care of Nick and all that, knowing damn well that Nick's life was going to change forever. And she also, did everything in her power to make sure that she wasn't going to have to deal with taking care of her mom, because God forbid she returned the favor that her mom did to her. So who is Gypsy Rose Blanchard? Yeah, she's a felon. She's an murderer. She's an actual pervert, yeah. And habitual liar, adulteress, yeah. And an influencer on social media. That's scary, isn't it? Guys, this is Everybody Has a Story to Tell with Toddie One Skip. Thank you, as always, for allowing me to be part of your day. This was the deep dive into Gypsy Rose Blanchard, because we know who she is. Maybe you learned something more that you didn't know. Hopefully so. And hoping it was entertaining. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, everybody has a story to tell. Nobody takes the time to listen until now. Thanks, guys. Bing, boing, bing. Everybody has a story to tell with Toddie One Skip.